We're going now. Hello and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us to another one of our weekend live streams. I am Jensen Beeler, editor of Asphalt and Rubber, and today I am very lucky to have with me MotoGP test rider, World Superbike champion, all-around fast guy, and upcoming YouTube star, I think, Sylvain Guintoli. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, how you doing? You alright?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How about yourself, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, for the circumstances.
Yeah, sure. Right. It's interesting times. Um, we were talking before the show started about your racing career and if we'd had enough time even just to cover your resume. But I wanted to give our viewers a chance to quickly hear about your racing prowess. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, 250 GP rider, Yamaha MotoGP Yamaha MotoGP test rider, MotoGP with Yamaha, now with Suzuki, World Superbike with Aprilia, 2014 World Champion, endurance racer. Suzuka 8-hour racer. It's a crazy career that you have had.
Yeah, and it's still going. So it's been quite a long career already. I started racing bikes in '95, so quite a while ago. But it's gone quick. And then like you said, lots of different categories with different bikes and different championships. So I'm enjoying my racing. Still enjoying it now. So I hope I can still do a few races and carry on being competitive for a bit.
Yeah, I would imagine in that list of things that being the World Superbike champion is kind of the crown jewel in that resume. Can you describe that season for me? What that was like?
Yeah, 100%. That was the highlight, and it was great couple of years that I spent with Aprilia then, and then in the end the 2040 season was like a bit of a thriller because we went for the last race in Qatar with I was trailing a bit in the championship to Tom Sykes, and had to win both races to win the championship, which I did, and it was like a final fireworks as well. So it was great. It was a beautiful season. Really, really enjoyed it, and I was part of a great team as well. So yeah, it was fantastic.
One of my favorite bikes in World Superbike history has got to be that RSV4 from that point in time. It was such an amazing machine. I mean, can you describe what it was like to ride that bike and maybe compare it to some of the other bikes you've ridden, in your career?
I think at that time that was the first time that I was really on a full factory bike. So it was the first time for me, even after all those years, because I spent most of my career riding private bikes. So and all you hear about the factory bikes is, when you're a private rider, you're desperate for your factory bike. You just want a factory bike and try it. And when I tried it, I finally understood what it meant to be part of a factory team with a full factory bike behind you. And it was just a great bike to ride. I really enjoyed it. It was fast. It was still at the time as well where World Superbike was not as restricted with the rules, with the engine and
Mm-hmm.
that. So the bikes actually had quite a lot of power, a lot more than they have now. And it was a great bike to ride. Yeah, and very good. I have very good memories of these 2 years.
I remember the criticism of the time was that it was really a MotoGP bike with lights. Do you think that was fair now that you've had so much experience on MotoGP racing machinery?
No, MotoGP is different. Of course, it was a bike that was designed originally. Well, it was GG at the time that designed that bike, and the way to do it then was to first make a race. Well, it was to make a race bike that would be competitive, and then kind of homologate it. So that that was the way. So yeah, the bike was like it was very much a race animal, even though it was a super bike. But MotoGP is different. It's different because obviously there's lots of differences. We could spend a lot of time discussing that.
Sure.
But superbike in essence, they still keep the DNA of the road bike. It's just a much improved version of the road bike, basically. As in MotoGP feels completely different. The chassis feel really different. The way it uses the potential in the braking, and yeah, it's very different. The brakes, loads of differences.
I see someone was asking in the comment section if it was the gear-driven cam version. I believe it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had to. I think that was forbidden then. Yeah, it was forbidden like a couple of years before I got there. Yeah.
Okay. What do you feel about the World Superbike rules package now? Do you feel that it's taking things too far away from Superbikes being special? I mean, looking at the level of technology that was there when you were in the series, is it watered down too much, or do you like what Dorna has been able to do with that?
I don't know. I mean, at the moment, it's competitive, and there's obviously we've all seen the race in Australia. I mean, Australia is always like that. It's always a bit of a cycling race in Australia because of the layout of the track. But I think it's important that both, because there's always a comparison there, that both championship keep their identity and represent what they actually represent. As in MotoGP represents the prototypes and with everything that goes with it. And then World Superbike should still have the link with the bikes that you can buy in the shop. This is the essence of it, I think. So I don't think a superbike can be restricted enough, in my opinion. I think that you should be able to buy a bike that is very similar to the one that are raced, and I think this will make a good show anyway. And I think that's what makes sense for this championship. For me, that's my opinion.
Looking at the list of racetracks you've been to, which one's your favorite to go ride? Which one's your favorite to go race?
I'll say Phillip Island. Phillip Island is a track that I really, really like. It's not just the track; it's also the atmosphere and the way that you go there. It's miles away. You have to travel for like 24 hours. It's a nightmare. You get there, and then you have to drive down to the island. And then you get to the island, you pass that bridge. It's only a bridge to it. So you get to the bridge to Phillip Island, and suddenly you're in this little island it's like a little community. It's a great place to be as well. This is one race that I regret not doing anymore, because we used to go the last year I did in World Superbike. We used to go with all the family and stay there for like 2 or 3 weeks. It's a great place to be. And then you got that great racetrack that is fast and flowy and absolutely amazing with the sea views. And I think for the track, but also for the layout and everything that is around it, Phillip Island has got to be it's got to be the best one ever.
Well, it's a pretty good view too when you're coming down the front straightaway.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
One of the things I think it's always really interesting, especially now with the way the modern series are with spec tires, is we don't see as much comparison between the different tire technologies that are out there, because it's just very hard to do. But you've obviously had a lot of different experience with the Michelins and MotoGP, the Pirellis and World Superbike, the Bridgestones at Suzuka. I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about the different feelings these tires give you, the pros and the cons, and just the differences really on the different rubber that's available.
It depends. I mean, my recent experience, obviously, I ride a lot with the MotoGP Michelin spec tire, which is a tire that is developed for MotoGP. Then the Bridgestones, they are the ones that we ride at Suzuka as well. They are like what we call like factory tires. They're not. They are a special spec. And they last very good, and they basically made for that race. And the Pirellis with the World Superbike, I haven't ridden Dunlops for that. Last time was in MotoGP when I was in 2007. So I mean, each slick tires has got they've got their own like I'll say strengths and weaknesses. But overall, I'd say that they're all. I mean, nowadays they're all pretty much really good, and I think it comes down to what you prefer in terms of like the brand and in terms of what they offer. I don't know. It depends on your country as well. Like sometimes work better in the cold than others. I mean, I don't think I can go too much into details about everything.
Maybe that's fair, but maybe you could describe for me, do you have to change the way the bike is set up? Do you have to change your riding style for the tires? I mean, how much adaptation do you have to do when you jump from one brand to another without giving away too many
Yeah,
secrets?
yeah. Also, you have to. It's important to adapt the bike to the tires, and especially in like a when you for example in MotoGP with Michelin's, or in World Superbike with Pirelli's, you have to make your bike work with the tires that you have, and this can make a big difference in the result eventually. So you have to adapt, and obviously as a rider you have to adapt to your riding style as well. Some tires get on better with certain riders.
How's that been for you personally? I mean, have you had to change your style a lot going from, as a MotoGP test rider with the Michelin's? Because I hear a lot of riders in the GP paddock, they talk about the Bridgestone front and how good that was, and then when Michelin came along, they talk about how great the Michelin rear was. I mean, was that a hurdle for you? What challenges did you have to face with that?
Yeah, for sure. Michelin they made some really good. I mean, the last like 2-3 years, the tires have come on like they've changed quite a lot. Now, I mean, you can see it, for example, in the number of crashes. The guys now don't crash as much. That's because we have. It's not because we go slower. It's because we have a lot more feel and a lot more understanding about what's happening with the front tire, for example. Um, so um, so yeah, in that respect, that's changed quite a bit. And at that time, obviously, everybody was commenting because when the switch was made, obviously there was a difference from the different manufacturers. So yeah, but this is not true anymore. This is not like this anymore.
Hmm.
Currently, the spec that we have in the specs that we have in MotoGP are like they 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 not only allow like a really good show because they make everybody close together. They also give a lot of feel. So yeah, for the riders it's better because there's much less crashes and you can understand a lot more that what you're doing.
Hmm. Talk to me a bit about the changing in the bike technology. I just saw yesterday you put out a video about the seamless gearbox. Things are constantly
Yeah.
changing in racing, and I'm wondering if you've had to adapt your riding style as new technologies came forward from the manufacturers, or if it's mostly just riding bikes the same way for the last 15 years or your length of your career.
No. I mean, I think as a rider, you just you adapt like through the years and with what you're doing. But yeah, you're right. The I mean, yeah, you adapt more or less. But then riding a bike is still riding a bike. I mean, there's no. These are like small differences. Small little things that you do a bit different. For example, the use of rear brake. I never used to use the rear brake because I don't like it. It's not natural for me. But with a GP bike, you have to because it's part of riding a GP bike fast. You have to use that rear grip that is there when you start tipping the bike in. And yeah, that's down to the spec of the bikes, the progress of the tires, the rear grip tire that is very good, and that you have to use in order to get in order to improve the lap time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I suppose you have to adapt. You have to adapt. For example, when I ride the 8-hour bike, I don't use the rear brake because I don't feel like I need it. But when I ride the GP bike, I have to. Yeah. So you do have to adapt.
That's interesting. I mean, is part of that because when you're doing Suzuka, it's an endurance race and you need to conserve energy, or is it purely a machinery type of thing?
No, it's a machinery. It's a machinery. It's also the Suzuka bike is like real tiny. With there's not much space in between the seat and the footrest. So for me, because I got long legs, it's an absolute nightmare to try and find the rear brake. And I'm like, I feel like a frog on top of a matchbox. Matchbox. I can't move. So for me, it's just a lot easier to just set the engine brake in a different way and just forget about it. Yeah.
Talk to me about becoming a MotoGP test rider for Suzuki and being a part of that program.
Yeah, that was at the time. So I was for 2017. I signed up to race with the new JSX 1000 that was just coming out, and that was to race in BSB in British Superbike. So we're developing that bike in that championship, and the bike was new. And at that time, unfortunately, Alex Rins hurt himself. He had a bad injury with his wrist, and he needed some time to recover. So Suzuki got in touch with me. Davide got in touch with me, and because I had MotoGP experience, I knew the tracks, and at that time it just made sense to just give me the bike, make me ride the bike for a while, because they needed a replacement rider. But when I got on the bike, there's some stuff that was happening, that some feeling that I got from the bike, that I just communicated to them, and eventually that led to to improving the bike. So that's how it started, and then we just, at that point there was no test team as such, but then the idea was there. So then suddenly there was a rider there that could do the job for them, and that's how it went.
How would you describe the GSX-RR then on that first ride to how it is now? What do you see as the differences?
Yeah, it was in essence, like, the DNA was very similar. It was very good already. They had at that point an issue with the engine that is not a secret anymore, and it was creating some dynamic problems on the bike that I was able to identify quite quickly. And then, but then overall the bike was like absolutely brilliant. I mean, the chassis was already like super good. The balance was really good. It was already a great bike to ride, but now it's absolutely excellent.
Yeah, that bike has really come along a long way quite quickly. It's been actually pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was there already. It was the like I said, the DNA and the base like was already there, and was very 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 good already. It's just then for the final, whatever they are, 10th or whatever, you gotta find the perfect balance, and that Suzuki is working really hard on that. And we all have I'm just a link in the chain here, where we all have worked really hard to make it to the top.
Describe for me what qualities does a racer need to have in order to be a good test rider? Because I feel like not every racer makes a good test rider. So what makes you such a great test rider? That's different from everyone
No,
else?
I mean, yeah, you're right. Some riders don't understand nothing. They don't even understand why they're fast. Some riders are like absolutely super fast, but they don't really know why, or they don't have the, yeah, they're just very talented, and they don't understand why. Then for a test rider, you have to feel what's going on. You have to understand what's going on. You have to have as well some kind of mechanic sense, that so you can guide, and you can give the right comments on what's going on the bike. So you have to have some kind of like a I don't know, plugged in on board data acquisition. Like that, where you just feel what's going on. And obviously experience, I think, helps as well, because once you've tried a lot of different bikes with a lot of different tires on a lot of different tracks and conditions, you're more likely to understand what what is going on, and what potentially can be a direction for the future. And you have to be hardworking as well, because it's a job that you have to think about it a lot. And when you're on the bike, you do big days, and you have to keep going on and on and on, and be very focused on what you're doing.
How do you manage, or how do you combine the information that you're getting when you're riding the motorcycle with your racers, Joan Mir and Alex Rins? How do you, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, you have three guys who have different styles, who are on the same bike, and how do you kind of handle the different needs and wants that each rider has when they're on it?
Well, I mean, we're not Suzuki is not, I think, trying to create a bike that would work just for one guy. They're just trying to we're trying to create a bike that is competitive, and that would work for everybody. So there's no like specific work for one or another. Sometimes we kind of think that some small adjustment might work better for one rider or another, but it's generally the work is actually on developing the bike itself, not for just for one guy or for one. And then obviously there is, I mean, the test team is a separate entity, so it's we got a full test team with mechanics, technicians, engineers, and even management. It's kind of a separate entity. But then the links with the factory team are very strong, especially on the technical side, obviously, where they correspond all the time to try and understand how we can make everything better. And then with Johan and Alex, I've got a really good relationship, so we talk openly about everything, and and I think communication is really important, not just for the team, for in between the riders as well. So you all basically work as a unit.
I imagine communication and trust is probably a big part of it too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yes, there is that as well, because we I think they both trust in what we're doing with the test team, and Suzuki is as well, obviously, because they're investing a lot of time and resources in this project, and it's working. So yeah.
I see Jeremy Tucker is asking about the aerodynamics on the GP bikes now, and actually on the production bikes now as well. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what it was like to ride the bikes without the winglets, and then with the winglets coming on, and how that's changed the program.
Yeah, so the wings, they do have a strong effect on the dynamics. They they help a lot with the wheelie, but not only, they also change the way the bike handles also in the corners, and so it's a fine balance to find the right package. Obviously, with the wings, basically the idea is to keep the nose of the bike down, so we can accelerate harder. Well, we can use more power and use less power reduction strategies or wheelie strategies as well. So because the anti wheelie strategy basically just takes power away from you.
What do you think has been the biggest aspect of the aerodynamics to kind of wrap your head around, or to manage inside the team?
I don't know. I think I mean, it was pretty obvious from straight away that there was like an advantage to be gained, and that's why everybody's using them. And it's great because the thing is, the MotoGP bikes, they have so much power. One of the big games, one of the big quests is to be able to use that power in the best way to actually put it down, because most of the time we can't. So all that power is actually quite inefficient. So what we're trying to do is to find solutions to make it more efficient.
I want to transition a little bit, because one of the things that's really impressed me lately is what you've been doing on YouTube and the videos that you've been putting out.
Because I'm bored.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. How did you get started in doing this? And has no one told you yet that you're overqualified to be a YouTube, star?
No, I'm not trying to be a YouTube star. I was no, I'm not bored. But what it is the this winter, I was bored this weekend. This winter, because winter is boring. For all of us bikers, winter is just disaster. You just stay in. It's cold. It's freezing outside. You can't even go for a bike ride outside. It's just terrible. So I was just thinking. I was thinking of riding bikes, and then I was thinking, well, I don't have a YouTube channel. Well, I had a YouTube channel, but I didn't create any content. So I was thinking, let's start this. Let's do something just for fun. And then, so after a few weeks, I was thinking, I don't know how to start. I didn't know how to start it. So I had this idea. I thought, well, it would actually be quite good to try and take a bit of the MotoGP world and try to put it, like, to relate it completely with the guy that is buying a bike in the shop. So the idea was born like that. And then I thought, okay, so I'm gonna take that bike. At the start, I just wanted to do a few mods, but then I thought, no, we'll keep it completely standard. And then at the end, I ended up even riding it to the track. And the plan was just to do that first video, take that standard bike on the track, do a lap time. And Donington is a good track to do that because it's really close to my house. and it's a track that I've ridden in World Superbike, in BSB, in MotoGP, so I've got lots of references there. So yeah, that was the plan to do that. But then we did it, and then I had no subscribers or anything. And in the first week, I had I don't know, it was like tens of thousands of views, and I thought, wow, this is quite good, and the feedback was great. So I thought, all right. And then in the same time, the restrictions, the virus situation started to be pretty bad. So I thought, yeah, all right, I'll just do a few videos. So now people are asking, and yeah, in like a month, I've gained quite a few subscribers, and it's going quite well. So I just feel like I have to keep doing it, and to be honest, I'm quite enjoying it as well.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy thing for me to see because I mean, normally, I feel like motorcycle racers, professional motorcycle racers, do every effort they can to stay away from media. They see someone like me coming, I got my shirt on. They just go the other way. They don't want to have anything of it. They just want to go race the bike. And you're doing the exact opposite. You're becoming your own channel for media, and it's been really fun to watch and see the things you're putting out. And then I saw you doing this crazy thing. You were doing data analysis for who I assume are complete strangers.
Yeah, well, this I've regretted a little bit because I've received like over 200 videos.
Well, you put
So
your
I've not
personal
been able
email out.
Well, yeah, that's one of my emails. But I thought I just put I just put it because I didn't know you could do that, and I found that stuff where you could like look at data and stuff, and then I got mates that go on track and do track days, like amateurs that just do it for fun, and I thought this is just great. I said I thought I got a lot of time here. I'm not racing at the moment, and I can we're not doing anything maybe for a while, so I can probably. So I thought I'll get like 10 videos and I'll just do it a bit like that for some guys and it'd be a bit fun. I thought just the diehards would send me the stuff, but I actually I've received so many. And still now I'm receiving some now. So I don't know. I might have to start a business with this.
Yeah, no, I was going to send you some of my data. Hey, get a free rider coach from Sylvain Guintoli? Yeah, absolutely. You're doing the Lord's work on that one, sir. Tell me, looking at that side of it, what do you see as being common mistakes that riders make on the track? What's like your single piece of advice if you had to give? Because I'm seeing some racers in the chat now.
So I haven't done all the videos, but I've done quite a few actually. I spent like a few days just going bam bam doing that. I do them quick. I just watch they send me the footage or some of them like a YouTube link, and I just look at the footage and just comment the footage and I just watch it basically. And it's quite easy to pick up the mistakes, like early on. So the most common mistake, guys, you need to get the word out. When you brake and you roll off the throttle, you need to downshift straight away, especially with big full strokes. You need to do it, but there's so many guys that just roll off and then just wait for like 2 seconds. While you do that, it's like the bike is freewheeling, so you're not stopping. You're not using the tools. The tool is like the engine brake is a massive power to stop. So yeah, that's the most common mistake. Roll off, downshift straight away. As long as you don't do like another, over rev, it's that's the most common mistake. And then the second one is going too fast in the slow corners, and not getting a good exit. So staying like for ages on the leaning. Some of them actually take massive risks because they go in, they release the brake, they go super fast in like slow corners, and then they spend a lot of time leaning, and they can't accelerate, but they're trying to accelerate. So the rear is moving and scary. So yeah, that. So basically, it's like, guys, you need to slow down to go faster. But it's a really common mistake. That.
I see Josh Marsh was asking a question about braking, saying that's one of his biggest improvement spots. What advice can you give him and others to improve their confidence on braking deeper and harder?
Well, that helps a lot. If you downshift straight away, you're gonna feel like with braking at the same time, you're gonna feel like you're going in the corner with a lot more at ease. If you downshift late, low revs, the bike is pushing you. So you're braking, but you feel like the bike is pushing you front wheel, so you can't turn. So yeah, downshift straight away, that helps a lot. And then once you start doing that, then you can start braking later because it'll just come natural. And same with the front brake. Don't be shy. Like the first touch of front brake has to be the hardest when you're straight. It's like bam on the brakes, hard pressure straight away, and then you release the front brake as you go in. but you have to find the right timing for that. So I mean, practice helps a lot as well. Like you need to practice is going at it and doing it makes then things more normal. Yeah.
Something for my own personal interest. How do you manage the mental side of racing? How do you get yourself mentally prepared and in the right headspace before you go out on the track?
You mean for racing or just for getting on track?
Well, I guess I was thinking about it more for racing, but maybe there's overlap between the two.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different approach. Like normally, when there's no racing, you're a lot more relaxed and a lot more chilled. You actually sometimes you go faster because of it as well, because you're more, I don't know, you're more worried about what you're doing on the bike actually, instead of thinking of the race and what might or might not happen. But I don't know. I don't really feel like I mean, managing, you just have to. Again, it's like I think practice makes better, and also practice gives you more confidence. So you feel it's important to feel relaxed on the bike, because when you relax, you do the right things. You don't tense your body for nothing as well, and for no reason. And you actually use your energy to do things that are to have inputs on the bike that are worthy, instead of being really tense and not scared, but not. If you don't not if I think if you're not confident in what you're doing, you kind of you miss out on a lot, and you get tired quick, and you're quite tense.
What about on race day? Do you have any advice on how to get in the mindset to go be a cutthroat competitor? How do you go from nice guy Sylvain to racer Sylvain?
Oh, I'm not that nice, mate. In the I mean, for the racing, it's like a different approach. You like, I don't, I mean, that's my personal thing. I know some riders, like, they feel like they have to be angry with the other guys, and they have to, like, they feel like they're getting a fight. I, I feel like I'd rather concentrate on what I'm doing myself. And I think, like, if I can better myself in what I'm doing, then the results will come. I see more like that, as in going. But this is a different, I don't know, it's different mindset. Loads of people and riders, but people as well have different mindsets. In That's not just for motorbikes; it's just for life as well. It's like, yeah. But that's my attitude towards the racing. I like to go out and try and improve what I'm doing, and then if I do it well, then then it will work.
You're a tall guy. I'm a tall guy. What kind of tips can you give me for some of us riders that aren't 5-foot horse jockeys?
Well, you can. I mean, there's different bikes out there that like suits different riders as well. There's some bikes that, like, you need, when you're tall, you need some room in the back to tuck in to start with. Another thing is, if you want a better tuck in, use a reverse shift. For example, if you have a reverse shift, so you bang the gears down in the straight. If you don't need to have your feet underneath the gear lever, you can actually have your foot more backwards onto the foot pegs, so you can then therefore have more room to tuck your elbows in. Your knees like more backwards. So that's another thing. And then otherwise, do some yoga or something. Stretching is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see Simon Cole is asking, does Suzuki know that you're doing the YouTube channel, and are you planning any more modifications to your GSXR?
Yeah, I am. I want to do that. I want to. I actually, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that have commented, and lots of people want to find out. But I want to do it. I want to know, because when I did this thing, I kind of like knew that the bike was going to be all right on the track. I didn't think. I mean, because I did it with the road tires, and I didn't set the suspension or anything. I thought the bike were going to be a bit worse than it was. The bike was actually better than I thought it would be. But I kind of thinking, now. So I did the second video I did, because following that first one, I hadn't planned to do anything. But that's the first thing I did. I thought, yeah, I'm going to try to do some mods on the stock bikes, like chassis wise, to see if I can improve it, which it did. It worked, like dropping the forks, raising the front, and stiffening a bit everything. But then, yeah, now I want to find out. I want to put some slicks on it, leave it like that, put some slicks on it, and see, what's the difference. Stock, but with slicks.
Oh, interesting.
And then, then then I want to do it with everything, because there is some, I think the bike, even completely stock, you could make it real quick or much quicker, with the tires and with a few items. So I want to find out. So as soon as we can get back on the track, I'm going to be on it.
Huh. I'll be curious to see how that goes. I was just having a conversation with a colleague the other day about, we have these motorcycles that have suspension with all these different adjustabilities. We see some bikes have, you can change the pivot point for the swing arm. They have chassis modifications through the headstock. There's all sorts of options on how you can tinker around with it, and maybe not everyone does, but it'd be interesting to see what the actual benefit is, or the difference is.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is this is my job.
Yeah,
To do this.
you're the guy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're overqualified for the job.
So I'm kind of the guy to do it, because I will know straight away. And obviously there is a few limitations for me, which is with the brands and stuff like that. So, but still I can do a lot, and I can do, and I genuinely want to find out. So, like, on the road bike, what happens if you, I don't know, lengthen the swing arm by 15 mil or something like that? And there will be a lot happening. I know that, because I know that if you do that on any bike, see what. But I can do that and actually compare lap times and understand why it does. Because like I said, this is my job, and it's really cool, because it's quite funny to do it on a standard bike. Yeah.
What did Suzuki say when you started this YouTube channel, when it started blowing up?
But I didn't really know, because I didn't want it to be corporate, because I thought if it's corporate, it's going to look like an advert, so I didn't really say anything, and I just did it. I just asked for like a loan bike, and we talked about it briefly, but I said to them, I want to do it myself. So I did it myself. The video and everything was all done by myself. Yeah.
I see Nathan Pisa is asking about understanding the feel and the connecting and communicating with the bike. Do you have any recommendations for track riders on how to improve that skill set? And I'll add in a little caveat. When you go and do something like the Suzuka 8-hour, or when you were with CERT, how do you set up a bike that's comfortable for multiple riders? How do you make those trade-offs?
Well, it's like like you say, it's like trade-offs. You have to you have to talk about it and try to find a compromise, because obviously you want the bike to work for all the riders. Like last year, for example, at the 8-hour, so there was Yukio with me, Kagayama, and I forgot. I've got, when you forget something
live on YouTube. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, that's terrible. I know him really well as well. We've been teammates 2 years. Anyway, they're both smaller than me, so the position I was not happy about. So we managed to find, you have to find like a compromise. So in the end, it wasn't the position that I wanted, but they made an effort as well. So yeah.
Let's go way back. Talk to me about who your racing heroes were when you grew up, and how you got started in motorcycle racing. I guess that's probably the first thing we should have talked about. So we'll Tarantino it a little bit.
Yeah, so I started racing with scooters. At the time, I was 12 years old, and at that time in France, that was what you could ride, that or mopeds. So I was riding the French Championship with scooters, and I started with. My dad was like always liked bikes and was involved with bikes, so he was taking me to the track, obviously, because at that age you need somebody to look after you. And that was it. So I started that, and then the first year I did it, I won the championship, and then moved step by step, like not big steps, but step by step, from 12 years old, and then I was in GP at 2000 first GP. So when I was like 18, yeah.
I had a couple questions from guys talking about the transition from being a racer to a tester, and if there was any sort of difference in your lifestyle or how you approach, your job on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's a bit different. I mean, when you race, you go from one race to another, and you're like 100% focused on the race. I mean, when I was racing like full championship, I would just you do one race, and then from the basically the next day, you probably allow yourself to like have a night off or something, and then from the next day, you focused on the next race. So you just get obsessed with the track and with what you need to do, and I don't know, like the notes you had the year before, and you know, you're pretty much really obsessed with that, and you go from one race to another like this. For my job is different because I still do a few races, but it's not as rhythm, it's not rhythm by the races. So um, so yeah, I go from like test to test with a race a bit in the middle to keep some rhythm and try and be as competitive as I can, even though it's not easy to jump, you know, in the championship like that all the time. And then yeah, go from the test. So in a way, it's less like you get. I personally get less like obsessed with, you know, with the what's coming next. Yeah.
What about in terms of fitness and diet? Is it pretty much the same, or have you had to adapt that as well?
Yes, same. I mean, now I'm like 37, so I have to be more, let's say, like less excess.
Don't tell me that we're the same age.
um, yeah, when I was younger, I was a bit wilder. Now I'm more like a, you know, I do more exercise. I do more. Yeah, I do less excess and just eat healthy and stuff. Actually, I'm more fit now than I was when I was younger
Huh.
because I yeah, because I just look after myself more. But I enjoy doing it now. I think when you get to that age, like past 35, you want to. I enjoy doing this, like more sport and cycling and whatever. I do quite a lot of sport. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me what you're doing. I mean, I tell people I've got a John McGinnis body for racing. I need to get on the Sylvain Guintoli train. Like, what are you doing for exercise? What are you doing for diet? Let's get nitty gritty.
Yeah, I mean I do quite a lot of I might do a video on that actually because I think there's actually a lot of people that have asked about this. But for you know, for the motorbike, I personally really like cycling, so I do a lot of cycling. Any type. I love like going downhill or I've got e-bikes as well. I love doing that. Or road bikes as well. Last year I did like about 4,000 miles of cycling on the roads, and yeah, I enjoy doing that. And then do gym as well. But the gyms, you know, the big muscles on motorbikes is not. You don't need that. So just enough to, you know, to for have like to have like a good strength, but you don't want any volume because volume on bikes is no good.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at the comments and I'm getting made fun of, which is always fun when your friends show up. Tell me,
I can imagine. Right? Yeah.
looking back a little bit, someone was asking about whether you had to change your riding style for the aerodynamics, or if you could keep that the same.
For the aerodynamics, you mean as
Yes, with the winglets coming into MotoGP.
no, not really. No. You just get a better ability to put the power down with those. But yeah, well, use more power. But no, you don't really change the riding stuff for the with the wingless now.
Do you have any stories from the Suzuka 8 Hours you can tell us? Because for me, that's one of the most iconic races in motorcycling, in my opinion. And every year I say I'm going to go and see it, and I, for some reason, come up with an excuse. But I imagine with the heat and just how special that race is in Japan, there's some things you can share with us.
Yeah, I mean, Suzuka is a very special race. It's in my opinion the hardest race. It's the hardest race that I've ever done. Really hard. But it's like I was talking about it with my wife actually the other day. I said to her, it's a bit like pregnancy because we've got 5 kids, and every time, like when we're hospital and it's happening, or just after, she's like, "I'm never doing that again. This is the worst thing ever." And then a couple of years after, she'd be like, "Come on, let's have another one." With Suzuka, it's a bit the same. When you when you're in the race or you finish the race, it's like, man, I'm not doing that again. It's so hard, so difficult. But then the emotions when you finish and because it's so hard, you want to go back and you want to do it again. So with Suzuka, you get that because it's so hard, like physically and emotionally, the heat and the relays, and I mean you get absolutely destroyed. Like I don't know, for example, we monitor our body core temperature, and because you lose a lot of water when you ride, and the relays along it's 1 hour on the bike. With like the heat is it's not just the heat because it's hot, it's like 35 plus, but it's like the humidity is absolutely horrendous. You can drink the thing when you breathe. It's bad.
Hmm.
So when you're on the bike with the leathers, I mean, I can't even describe to you. It's bad. Some people say like Sepang is bad, when we go with the GPs, but this is much worse. And also, a MotoGP bike is 45 minutes long, something like that. The relays in Suzuka are 1 hour. So these last 15 minutes are just an absolute nightmare because you're so dehydrated, you can't see, you can't function. When last year when I finished my third relay, I was at 40.5 body temperature.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, it's horrendous. You overheat, you're knackered, you need the pools with the ice to cool down so you don't faint. Honestly, it's very hard race.
You mentioned it while you were talking, having such a large family. Where do you come down on the
She's gonna
spectrum?
kill me actually if she sees that I said that.
I don't know if we can edit it out, man. It's live. Where do you come down on the family? Do you feel like you got faster or slower? I talked to Colin Edwards. He says he had kids. He slowed down. He lost 1/10 of a second. I talked to Cal Crutchlow. He says he found 2 seconds. Where are you on that debate?
Yeah.
Did he?
No, for me, it makes no difference.
He
No, when I get on the bike, I don't think about the family. I just think of riding bikes, enjoying myself, and go as fast as I can. So no, it's never really affected me. I had kids, so my first one was born in 2005. So it makes it really for me it makes no difference. If anything, it's brought me like a stability,
Hmm.
and yeah, the family, like yeah.
Going back to Suzuka, I see someone asking about what do you think about running Suzuka in November, instead of in the middle of the summer.
Well, I think it's going to be less hot, which is nice.
Yeah,
It might be actually a bit cold in November. I think Japan gets cold in the winter, but yeah, I mean, we still don't know. We don't know if we. I mean, for now they've just delayed it. So, but that's not guaranteed that it's going to happen. We just don't know what's going on, do we?
sure.
At the moment, there's no guarantees of anything. So we hear stories, and they very likely change from week to week. We don't know. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, it's great if they changed it in November. It's great if it can happen. It would be fantastic. Yeah. So we'll see.
Nathan Pease is asking it again. Another question. Spanning your 25-year career, what was your favorite bike to race? What's the one that stands out in your mind?
The best one. The best one is the one I'm riding now. The G6R. I mean, this bike is absolutely fantastic. It's quick, it's efficient. The chassis is fantastic. The whole thing is just great. The tires are brilliant because the tires gets better every year. I can't think of one thing that it's got the seamless gearbox. The whole thing is so neat and fast and efficient and good. That is the best bike that I've ever ridden. Yeah, 100%.
He says wearing the Suzuki jacket on the show.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, that 100% it is. I mean, I've ridden like bikes that there's bikes like that got like over the years that got a lot of characters. Like when I was riding the 250 cc's, they were fantastic. The two strokes. I also did a season as a test rider with the 500 two stroke. So that was a great bike, fantastic bike. But in terms of like how fast you're gonna get, the one I'm riding now is just like unbelievable.
Well, Sylvain, I think I'm out of questions for you, and it doesn't seem like we have any more in the chat, so I think we'll call it a wrap. But I want to really thank you for coming on and talking to me today on your weekend off, and I really want to thank you for all the videos you're producing. It's really impressive what you've been doing on YouTube, and I can't think of any other racers that have tackled that idea. And yeah, it's been great to see the stuff that you're putting out.
All right, cheers, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm gonna try to carry on the YouTube things, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Hopefully, when life returns to normal, it's something you can still do when you're not,
Yeah, obviously. I mean, when we restart, the program obviously is going to be I'm gonna have to get back to my real job, and maybe I'll have a bit less time. But I think there's still a lot of fun stuff to do out there with this concept. With this, it's a good platform to do stuff like that. So yeah, and people like it, so in a way it makes quite a lot of sense to try and find some time to do it. So I'll try to create some content.
Well, I would imagine everyone here is already probably subscribed to your channel and following you, but if they're not, I give it a full-hearted endorsement, and I hope they do, because it really is good stuff.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you again for joining us, and thank you to everyone who watched, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Yeah, cheers.